Welcome, ladies, gents, and my non-binary friends to the GGP 2022 Pride Twitch stream. My name is Francisca Phillips, and my pronouns are she and ella, and I am the head of Global Belonging and Growth for Jam City. In today's panel, we are going to be talking about driving inclusion in games, a look at Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery by Jam City. Sarah and Justin are going to tell us a little bit about their role, their time at Jam City, and their involvement with Harry Potter in a little bit. So before we get started, again, thank you so much, everybody. We have a lot of sessions, really cool that they're going to be coming up. And so with that, Sarah and Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role, your story at Jam City, and what is it that you like about it?
Thanks, Francesca. Yeah, I can start. So currently I am Vice President of the Narrative Division at Jam City. So I oversee the genre of games that include narrative RPGs like Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. I've been at Jam City for a little bit over 5 years now. And I've been involved with Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery coming up on 3 years now. So I oversee team operations, our creative direction and business development, as well as just our product direction and overall vision of the game.
Cool. And I am Justin Fitzwater. I'm the product marketing manager on Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. I work really closely with Sarah and the game team just to make sure that I'm aware of everything that is going on with the game, and they're super beneficial for me since I've only been with Jam City since about October of last year. I've been marketing and doing social media primarily for over 10 years now, but really excited to be working on Harry Potter and especially Hogwarts Mystery and Jam City. And aside from working with the game team and making sure that I'm on top of everything that's happening with the game, I also, am in charge of kind of all of the marketing strategy for the game. And so working really collaboratively with the rest of the teams from PR to, user acquisition and social media, kind of across the board. I try to be the glue between all of the teams and just making sure that we're all kind of on the same page and we all know what's going on so that we can, do the best that we can for each of, the things that we're working on.
Thank you both for that intro. So with that, let's go ahead and get our discussion going. So my first question is, how has Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery grown as a game since its inception over 4 years ago? And what are you most proud of?
I can take this, I guess. Since launch, we've added a multitude of new characters, customization options, quest lines, events, and systems to interact with. We went from having a handful of options for personalizing your character to having thousands of collectible items. We even expanded to have include a dorm room for your avatar. We even added fully customizable facial features so that we could really fine-tune how players looked in the game. We also have added features like Quidditch, dating, magical creatures, and pets, none of which existed at the launch of the game. And I think that all of these additions promote really immersive gameplay and give players more choice in how they want to represent themselves and experience Hogwarts. And I think that more choices, more options, whether it's creating and customizing your avatar, who your friends are, or even who you can date. Those are keys to having better representation in the game. And it's really difficult to just pick one thing that I'm super proud of. I think I'm proud of everything that we've added since launch.
And I don't really have a lot to add to that. I think Sarah speaks definitely for the game and having been on it for so long, she's been kind of the one helping to usher a lot of this stuff along. But as being someone who's kind of come in recently and seen all of the awesome stuff that the team has done over time, it's been really cool to see, some sort of the reactions that the fans have to a lot of the things that have been added over time. I know Sarah mentioned dating and romance. It's a really big addition from last year that has kind of grown since then. We had an update this year that I was actually able to be a part of, And so it's been really cool to see just sort of how things resonate with the players and how they're really able to, grow as characters and within their Harry Potter Hogwarts mystery story. And so I think that the game team does a really great job of just like really listening to what players want for the game and doing whatever they can to try to implement that feedback. And I'm really excited to see, what we're able to share with players moving forward because we have a lot of really fun stuff coming.
It is definitely a fun game to play, and my whole family plays it, by the way. So my next question is, one of the key values at Jam City is diversity and inclusion. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you see this value come to life within the specific game Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery and amongst the team who develops it?
Justin, do you want to start on this one?
Sure. Yeah, I'll say, I think for me, I really, having joined the company again recently, one of the key things that has been great for me to see is just how, how passionate Jam City is in really striving for a lot of the values when it comes to diversity and inclusion. And so, like, I think both internally and externally, they do such a great job of not only like thinking about it from a company perspective and thinking about their employees and wanting everyone to feel included and supported, but also within their games. I think that we're always looking at the work that we're doing from that lens of inclusion and trying to do whatever we can to, both improve what's already there, but then also thinking about future, new features and things like that, and making sure that they're all seen, through that perspective. And so that's been really big for me is just kind of seeing, that process, and then also just being a part of it, and being a part of the LGBTQ plus community. It's really valuable for me as well. And so, I think that we all know that there's always a lot of room for improvement. And so, again, that's something that we strive for, is just like always staying open to, what our players want, what we see externally, what us as Jam City, employees, what we all value and want as well from the company. And I think that from my experience so far, I think that Jam City does a great job. And again, Sarah and her team are doing an awesome job as well of kind of like always keeping that in mind.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, I think you captured it really well. Just from the inception of Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, it was important to the game team to create a Hogwarts that everybody could see themselves in. I think the beauty of the wizarding world is being able to shape the world around you, of course, with magic. But I think that, first you need to actually be able to visualize yourself in that world. And so when we would design our characters, we really tried to design them in a way that captures an authentic experience that will be relatable to our audiences, so people can feel that visualization and feel themselves there. I do think that we have some way to go with capturing more perspectives and choices and customizations, to achieve that goal of at Hogwarts that everybody can see themselves in, and the inclusivity that Jam City really values. But I know that it's something that our design team thinks of anytime they're making a choice when it comes to these options in our game.
I love that, because we always say that diversity is just a fact, right? So all our players are diverse, our employees are diverse, because we also think about diversity of thinking. But when it comes to inclusion, it's a conscious action. And I can see that when y'all are planning on features and everything, it's like a very conscious action to make sure that we're including the whole diversity of our players. So
yeah. And I would say also that from the player perspective, again, like we're always listening to players, and it's been really great to see that, they'll notice whenever we do something that, is obviously trying to achieve whatever they're requesting from us. And, it's also something that like game production is not always like a copy paste type of thing. Some things can take time, and so it's also just been nice to see that the community, they understand that and are very supportive, and even if something isn't something that we can do right away, it's something that we're always trying to keep in mind and add over time. And this game, has had quite a life so far, and so we would like that to continue, and so there's plenty of time, I think, to continue to grow and expand the game.
My third question is, why do each of you personally feel that diversity, equity, and inclusion should be a priority for game publishers when they're developing or improving existing games?
I think that there's a number of reasons why game developers should care about this. I think that, from a creative perspective, making something that showcases an experience that isn't widely represented is the opportunity to make something unique and genuine. And I don't know many game devs who thrive on doing what's already been done before. From a business perspective, creating something that appeals to as many users as you possibly can just makes sense. I think you leave a lot on the table if you're not thinking about how to connect with underrepresented audiences. And then just from a pure human perspective, as someone who grew up playing games where it was difficult to visualize myself in those worlds, it's about creating that space for the current generation of gamers, and then encouraging the rest of the industry to do the same, so that the people growing up today, they can see themselves in these games.
Yeah, for sure. And likewise, from a marketing perspective, Sarah's looking at it from who's playing our game, who might play our game, what do they want from that experience. And so I think in a lot of ways marketing mirrors that, but probably has to look at it from a much wider lens. And so we're not only thinking about how are we best sort of representing all of the possibilities and the diversity and inclusion that we're trying to put into the game, but how are we making that clear through the way that we're advertising it and engaging with people on social media and stuff like that, and just letting people know that if there's a certain way that they see themselves, or they want to create an experience for themselves, that hopefully we're able to offer that to them through Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. And so I think that's a lot of what I have to try to keep in mind is just how are we reflecting the experience that we're trying to create for players within the game, and making sure that all of the diversity and the work that we're doing to make people feel like they're represented within the game is something that they can see from the marketing that we're doing that's trying to help bring them into the game. And also, obviously, we're not just marketing to new players, but also existing players who may not know that we've just added something new to the game that just opens up that experience even further for them as well. And because our game is so narrative focused, I think it's really important to make sure that if you want to play the game as if you are there, as that person, then it's only that much more important for us to make sure that you feel reflected within it.
So this next question I had, we already touched upon a little bit in my the previous answers that you all gave me, but when you're looking at implementing representation within the game, right? Where does the process start, and how do you make sure it stays top of mind? Because I know that we're consciously having to make these efforts, as Sarah had mentioned. So maybe what are some things that you can share with the audience that you do consciously so this stays top of mind when you're designing new things?
Absolutely. I would say on one hand, it starts by listening to our audiences and then using that as a guide for what's underrepresented in our game. And then on the other, it's just keeping a pulse on the world and the industry at large, identifying places that we feel like we can tell an authentic and interesting story. And then I think that it also starts from the varied backgrounds of our game team. We all share this value of creating this Hogwarts for everyone. But really where it starts is having a team that comes from different backgrounds that can bring, their, unique perspective to the game making, and then aren't afraid to challenge each other on sort of achieving that mission of creating that kind of Hogwarts. So, it comes from a number of things, but that's how it stays top of mind for us.
Yeah. And, again, from a marketing perspective, I do try to really work closely with the game team on some of the things that they have coming in the future. And so, like what I can do from my perspective is to be sort of the voice of the audience in a lot of ways. We get a lot of information from the game in terms of like what players are playing and how long and all of that stuff. But obviously, there's also a very vocal community of players who, like they have their certain needs and wants as well. And so, always just keeping in mind that as much as you are trying to create an experience that's specific to what you envision, also there's a community of people who are experiencing it in their own way. And so, I think like really in making sure that you're implementing the kinds of things that they want to see. It's all about listening and really making sure that you are, being mindful of what exactly it is that players are wanting, and like just keeping that in mind in everything that you do. And like sometimes it's even you just have to start the conversation with like who do we have in the game? What characters really represent what players really like about the game, or who do we think best represents the inclusion and diversity that we have, and how can we make sure that we're not forgetting about them when we market it or when we have a new storyline or something like that. And you have to be really mindful of it, but I think over time it does become just part of your process as well. So it's just kind of always just trying to do the best that you can, and never forgetting that you can't just kind of assume that you're doing it right. You have to always be kind of second guessing and making sure that you're making mindful decisions.
I love that, mindful decisions. So we talked again about representation makes a much better player experience. So can you tell us maybe a little bit of the feedback that maybe you've seen for it, specifically for the game, from the players, the community, and how you've added these new features into the game?
Sure. Fitz, do you want to start?
Sure. So, again, social is one of the things that falls under me. And alongside that, we've got Reddit and all of those channels that we don't necessarily manage, but, we have a healthy community there that, will definitely say what they feel. And so it's always about kind of just like making sure that we're keeping in tune with the conversations that are happening there and responding as best as we can with the content and the updates that we're creating in the game. And so I think it's important to remember that we don't always get things right on the first try, and so like that's why our community is so important, because they'll let us know if something hit the mark or is off. And we just have to do the best that we can to listen and implement any updates that we can to right the ship. And I think that there are things that we can do that are very easily kind of understood by players as like a direct reaction to their feedback. But then there are also like kind of quality of life types of updates that we can make over time that if we do it right, they don't even notice, because we implemented it in a way that feels right, and like is not something that they feel compelled to go like call us out on later on. And that's always the goal. That's not always how it happens, but I think that that's important, is just to keep that feedback loop open.
Yeah, I totally agree. This question makes me think of a really memorable piece of feedback, like when we talk about improving the player experience. We had a parent who wrote in that mentioned that her daughter, or that their daughter and her best friend who played the game, they said that as the girls were growing up, and especially during quarantine with a lot of isolation, they were finding it more difficult to connect with one another and relate to one another. But that the game gave them a reason to FaceTime every single day and stay connected and close. And I thought that that was like a really beautiful example of how this game connects people from different backgrounds. We're lucky to have seen a lot of feedback thanking us for including certain characters, choices, customizations, or even dialogue, like lines between characters that people have connected with at different times. So I think that we don't always get it right on the first try. There's still a lot of work to do in this area, but that those are the pieces of feedback that are super uplifting to the team, that like make sure that that stays top of mind for us as we're designing.
Oh, love the story. Thank you for sharing. So my last question is, as y'all continue to expand the game, is there anything that maybe you can share with our audience about how you're going to be customizing or prioritizing diversity inclusion in the future?
Well, I would say that, it's a huge priority. I don't want to give too much away. But I will say that there's a lot of things that we want to continue to expand on, especially for our avatars and new characters. And then I'll let Fitz take it away.
Yeah, again, never wanting to give too much away, but I would say generally there's never too much, I think, that can be done to make people feel included and represented in our game. And so, I think that, as Sarah mentioned, there's a lot of things that players have requested recently, or things that we know players have been wanting for a long time, that we are really mindful of at the moment, and seeing what we can do from our end to implement them. And so I think that that's something that's really top of mind for us. And I think that there's also some big updates that are coming that I think will address a lot of exciting, kind of opportunities that fans have been requesting, or, kind of dreaming about, that, we haven't really been able to implement so far. And so, I would just say, definitely stay tuned to, our social channels, and feel free to let us know if you have any requests or feedback on things that you'd like to see in the game. And like I said, they're not always things that we can implement right away, but we're always looking to do whatever we can to make the game better and better. And so, I think, again, that loop is really vital for us, and there, as many things as we as a team would like to do within Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, there's so many things as well that we wouldn't have even thought of if the players hadn't requested them. And so I think that that's so important to us for the longevity of the game, and just making sure that we continue to provide an experience for players that feels like it's representative of how they want to experience Hogwarts Mystery. And so from that perspective, just keep letting us know what you need from us, and we'll continue to try to deliver on that.
Thank you. So you heard it directly from Sarah and Justin. Stay tuned. Lots of great things happening. Make sure you make your voices heard. Let them know, give them feedback so you can shape the game as well. So thank you both so much for your great insights. I really appreciate today's conversation. I hope that we were able to inspire somebody in the audience today. You were able to learn something new, and make sure that you continue to enjoy the GGP 2022 Pride Twitch stream sessions, and ciao for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Oh!